Morning, Greg.
Morning, David.
How is it today?
Oh, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah.
Good.
It's a long weekend. We got tomorrow off, so that's always good.
Oh yeah, that's great news for everybody.
Especially you.
Yeah, everybody and me.
Did you forget it was a long weekend?
Yeah, I knew yesterday. It's been one of those.
We forgot this morning.
Just
I
forgot.
got it. Totally get it. Yeah.
But I think that's just if you're in Canada too. So, haha.
Well, I think other places it might be different. Yeah, you never know.
You know, but we're off. It's great.
Yay!
Not to rub it in or anything if you're not off, but
yeah.
It looks like in the States they had Washington's birthday on the 17th. I don't know if that's a thing, but happy birthday, you know.
Well, could be. It must be a thing.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be real. If you can Google something and the answer's there, it's real. Why would you even fight it?
Yeah.
I'll go push a button. You could do the thing. Ready?
Okay.
Go.
We want to thank these wonderful people, Hilge at the top there, and everyone else on this list for being Patreon supporters. If you would like to become a Patreon supporter and help this channel out, you can go to patreon.com/3dmakeit, and you will get access to our Discord. And we have lots of great conversations in there. And last week we had our Patreon live stream, and you can then even join us live on the channel, and we get to interact and do lots of cool things. So thanks to everyone for joining us. And any other information, you can go to www.3dmakeit.ca.
I'm glad you said CA because com would have been wrong.
It would be. we could buy it if it's available, but I don't know if it is.
Probably not anymore. I doubt it. There's like 3 or 4 other people that own different domains in our realm of things.
Yes.
So, this week's been weird since the beginning of January, let's say.
We've
seen a large number of Ender 3 printers bite the dust.
That's true.
Crash and burn.
It's been a variety of things. So we've just done another workshop, and a bunch of them have had weird things. So one lost a driver on its board. Mm-hmm. So I mean that happens, right? The other one is really weird. If you flash the firmware or factory reset it, it starts to work, and then it gets a number of layers out and whatnot, and it looks like it's working fine. If you let it go, it stops moving up on the Z-axis, and just starts, and then it starts pushing out way more filament. It's like the E-steps change, so it's like there's a memory corruption of some sort.
Yeah,
because it just starts oozing out. It's like you can watch the filament spin off the wheel, and it's off the spool, and it's trying to ooze it out through the nozzle, and then it's not also moving up in the Z plane at all. So it's really weird. And then we had one with a CR touch that failed. So we've had a number, and then we've had also a couple that have physically broken, which obviously that's not under warranty or anything, where people had had their silicone socks start filling with filament and then ooze up, and then it actually snapped off the CR touch. So that one's that's a different thing that we
kind of funny.
We made them buy a new CR touch for that one. But so it's kind of interesting. But I mean, if you buy a number of printers, the chances are some of them are going to have a warranty issue or something. We've had pretty good luck though. We but I don't know what we if you want to speak to this or not. We had noticed that the Neos when they came, and I think we've noticed this with other ones too. They make the voltages a little hot.
Yeah, the voltages are hot, and then they had the Ender 3 Neo, or not the Neo, the V2. It also had poor design choices under the extruder.
Oh
That
yes.
that like, and I don't even know what the logic is to it. They put a screw right underneath the hollow channel of the extruder arm that locks it almost into place, and it can't actually flex or move properly when you
Well,
insert filament. So it's
yeah,
kind of a weird
they
choice.
limit by putting that screw in there. They limit the movement. So if you're sorry about my dogs, guys. I'm gonna mute for a sec. I'll let you talk.
I'm gonna talk. I just that screw, it does limit motion, so it could make it easier to insert filament, but it also actually ruins your printer's productivity, because without the full range of motion on those things, the filament either doesn't go through properly, or it can get stuck the other way and just grind away at itself, right?
So what I have found is if how there's a certain amount of tolerances that build up when you design a printer, and where they mounted the stepper motor, if it's not perfectly centered, then that screw doesn't help because it doesn't allow the pulley to fully press against the gear,
But even like, so
or
even if
or
the printer
or if
was
it's
100% correct, who cares about the screw?
well, and I think they had a lot of people over tightening stuff or something at some point. But the other thing that was happening is the I don't know if the shaft was bent, but it would turn, and then it was almost like it was eccentric. So it would be close and push, and then it would go far enough away that it just barely skimmed, so he'd just trim off some of the filaments because it wasn't enough pressure, and then you just get this pile of dust.
Mm-hmm.
So the quick fix for those ones was we unscrewed the arm and removed that little screw and fixed 90% of our problems.
Well, and that's kind of the point. Like, if the part you're introducing serves such a niche purpose that actually doesn't need to be satiated, the part doesn't need to be there, right? Like, that's just good engineering.
Yeah.
It's like, hey
Well,
man, this part looks really cool, but when a car drives over the bridge, they blow out their tires because it goes over a grate that doesn't need to be there.
I am glad that a lot of the upgrades they did to the Neo are good. Like for example, the extruder itself is metal. It's not the plastic one. Because one of the other failure points on the original Ender 3 Pro was the extruder arm eventually would stretch and crack,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not going to get that with an aluminum arm. Like if you do, you really over tightened it. And I don't think it's
Well,
possible.
yeah, I mean, you'd probably strip the screw before you got that tight. I
Oh
mean,
man.
you do have to be careful with like the um with Ender threes when you're putting them together, and doing your maintenance, which it's that time of year, printer maintenance time. But like,
Absolutely.
when you're doing that stuff, you want to make sure stuff's tight. But if you over tight on an aluminum frame, either two things happen: the screw never comes out again, or you strip the hole and it falls out. And you don't want either of those. So just the right amount of tight is good. I
Yep.
think we've also, like, so there's been more issues than just like the physical side of printing, like stepper drivers burning out. That happens. That's
Mm-hmm.
they're serviceable machines, so like um at least you can get parts relatively easily. But the other thing right now that we've got going on for us is I've had lots of people complaining that hey, my printer's printing fine, and it was printing fine just before the new year, and after the new year, I haven't had a print stick to the bill plate.
Mhm.
There's, I've got adhesion issues and nothing's changed. What's going on? And like where we are, the answer is humidity because it's
Well,
25% overall right now, right?
and have you actually cleaned your print plate with isopropyl alcohol?
Well, when
And
you ask,
if you have glass, have you added your adhesion method of choice again? That sort of thing. So
and that's a interesting. If you go to the Reddit on adhesion stuff, there's two camps. The one that's like, yeah, use something. And then the other one that's like, if you put anything on that glass, I will come to your house and break it.
see, and I find like with the original, there was a really good borosilicate, like on, for example, on my CR10 and my um, Chiron.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them have a really good um, borosilicate glass or whatever, but the coating on it, like as long as you clean it up with isopropyl alcohol, you do not need um, hairspray or any other type of adhesion on it if you're printing PLA or or PETG and whatnot. I'm sure if you're doing ABS, that's a little different story, right? Because I don't have much experience with that
Well, so
yet.
with pet G, you always want to use some sort of intermediary when
Mhm.
you're printing it on glass, whatever the glass may be. Um, the actual chemical makeup can bind to the glass and then tear
Mhm.
chunks out of it, right? So,
Yeah, and I've with these I haven't had any issue. And then I've got
yeah,
my nice flexible build sheet, PEI. It's two sided,
yeah.
flat
See, and
or
those are
whatever,
fine.
and those work excellent. Again, don't need any adhesion assistance on that
Not
with
usually, yeah.
yeah, but
The again, it's just with Pet G and Glass, they don't get along. You can look up the horse. There's thousands of images of people like, hey, look what I did to my glass. And there's chunks out of it because they
yeah,
didn't use something. The
yeah,
PEI Flex Steel stuff is really good for most things. When you get to ABS though, it sucks. Um, straight up. The like it almost can do it, but the problem with ABS is
it's
and those
very
sheets,
warpy, right?
it's warpy, and then once you get the bed hot enough to actually print it, um like to the 100 degrees or so, the adhesion, um I guess you could call it the adhesion coefficient, changes. So like using a slurry or like I think Dominic just put it up, nanopolymer, for ABS is a good idea. The slurry works well. You just need some acetone and ABS, and you mix it a bit, and then it makes a
Just
gross.
don't put that on a PEI sheet, acetone.
Well, like here's the thing though. It depends on the PEI sheet too, right? Because
But
not all PEI sheets. Don't put it on the PEI sheet that comes with the enders. It melts it.
well, yeah, but I don't think acetone and PEI mix well.
I don't. I think like if you're cleaning a bill plate with acetone, uh,
You're doing it wrong.
yeah, like you're desperate for one, which happens, right? We all get there. Um, but like the
So a split,
isopropyl alcohol 99
yeah,
is probably really good.
yeah. So like slurry on glass is that your preference?
Well, slurry on glass or even on, so like if you have like the one that you keep holding up and you flip it to the
And
flat
that
side, and
to
then
because that's just the steel side normally.
generally speaking, there are some that have like dual coating, right?
Right.
Like the one side is still coated. But like yeah, Slurpee works well. Glue stick works pretty good. You just need something, and again, if you have a heated chamber,
Mhm.
uh, and your bed is warm enough, generally speaking, it won't pop off anyway because
Yeah.
like it's warm, it doesn't want to warp, and that's the leading cause for ABS to like pop off a build plate. Is it just
Yeah.
it's too cool?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, the bamboo stuff has a PEI, and then it has a powder coated
Hmm.
texture. So the powder coated might be better for like a slurry or something, right? Because it's not plastic at that point. It's more of a ceramic-y type
Yeah,
surface.
yeah, yeah, and like the it's funny because like chemically speaking, acetone does remove lots of stuff, including just powder coating, right? Uh, but like, there's lots of people that's like, yeah, like once a year to deep clean my stuff, I use acetone, and I'm like, oh, it'll deep clean it, all right.
Yeah.
It'll
Yeah.
deep clean it all the way off. You're right about the nanopolymer stuff too, Dominic. Like, again, this isn't a hill for anybody to like make a stand on. If you find nanopolymer works for every kind of filament you use and you have success, use it. You know, like after a while
Dominic's
acetone makes you feel good. You might need some You're right. Yeah, we might need somebody to rescue after a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be
Yeah.
me. Man, I feel great and dizzy.
Hey, why am I
Whoa.
lightheaded? Why are
Mm-hmm.
there unicorns bouncing by?
Right. The But I mean, there's lots of interesting things that happen in season changes for bed adhesion, like even
Right.
between like winter and spring, spring and summer, summer and fall. So like the best place to get the most success out of your printing is if your house has like HVAC that controls everything all year round,
Humidity and everything.
humidity and air conditioning and
We're
all of
we're
that stuff.
normally a pretty dry climate here, so we don't have as many moisture issues, but depending on the time of year, yeah, it can definitely spike up. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's and again, like when we see stuff like what we're talking about now, like bed adhesion, um, prints aren't printing properly, shall we say? Um, the culprit often is it's maintenance time, right? So
Yeah.
it's time to look at your like if you have an auto leveler, well maybe look at the actual bed level, like give it
Yeah.
a level once, and like all you got to do for that is bring the head down manually with a business card, and then you do just come down on a corner roughly when where the business card or the paper is right, and
Yeah.
then do your level, and then you've re-leveled the bed successfully for your auto level for the year.
Yeah.
And then the other interesting one is most of these like Ender threes, or let's call them printers under $700 at the very least. Um, they have V wheels, and those V wheels
They wear.
only last, yeah, right. Like
And
it's
we've done a whole video on replacing those wheels and whatnot, and it is
yeah,
something to be aware of because I do believe you've got a printer that needs new V wheels.
yeah. So the ABS printer, like I think it needs to do bearings more than the wheels, like because the wheel. So like the wheel itself is that like black rubber, right? I don't know. You wouldn't call it the tire, but the black rubber part wears. And generally speaking, if it wears too much, it can actually affect the bearings. But mine's not that far. It's just the bearings on the bed seem really seasy. It's still like functions ish, sort of. But I mean, again, the bed on that printer is kind of hard to pull back and forth, so it makes you wonder.
Yeah.
But yes, maintenance time. Check all your V wheels. Make sure none of them are spinning free,
Hey,
right?
Helge.
level beds, doing that stuff helps, especially in drastic changes because like we just came through that
Super
minus
cold
40
snap.
snap, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
And if
apparently
you're
we're
trying,
getting
if
another
you
one here.
if you're trying to print, and you look at your, like, just have your printer on and you look over, and my ambient temperature down here normally is around, I don't know, 21 degrees Celsius kind of
Mhm.
thing, is what my printer reads. But when it's reading 15 for
Yeah.
that's a huge drop, and you're going to change the properties and how hot you're going to need things. And obviously if the ambient air is that cool, um you can heat your build plate up, but your plastic's going to cool faster
Well,
because
and that's where
so
stuff
you
like PLA would still be printable, but there's no way you'd get ABS working without
no, well, you would, ABS, you typically would have an
an
enclosure.
enclosure. Yeah.
But so that's when things like draft shields. So there's an option to turn on draft shields where it prints a draft shield as you're printing. So your model stays a little warmer as you're printing. So
Yeah.
that's something you could enable. There's lots of little mitigation things you can do to
Yeah.
help with the process if you had that. But typically, if you're going to be printing and it's a regular spot you're going to be printing, try to, like, I redirected like a heating vent right above here. I redirected it so that it doesn't, blow directly on my printers and whatnot. So I'm not getting some weird draft and whatnot. So yeah, lots of little things.
I think too, the you have to lots of maintenance happens when you try to print and it fails too, right? But Dominic was mentioning loose V wheels manifest in the print before you notice it by feel. Actually, I don't know about
I've
that.
seen I've seen that.
I mean, I've seen it for sure, and usually you do. Like flat V wheels can give you wow, waves in like auto leveling. If those wheels are out, it's kind of neat. Um, but like I had to print one of my Core XY needed new wheels for like a while, but it was still printing just fine.
Yeah.
There's
I think I
just
have a flat spot on my ender. I'm rolling the carriage right now, and then it stops, and then it
and then it
rolls,
keeps
and it
rolls.
stops.
Yeah.
So
These times
I
for
think I
maintenance.
I think I got a flat spot on one of the wheels or multiple wheels. Probably
And
because it was sitting for a while and I hadn't used it. And if it's over
yeah,
tightened, right?
it'll flatten on the extrusion. It's really funny. Like the V wheel and V slot extrusion make printers incredibly cheap for us. At least cheaper than linear rails, but it's like putting a knife against the plastic every time it rolls.
Well, and then, like, we talked about this on one of the previous episodes with the new Ender 3 V3. It
Mhm.
went, so they have some V wheels on it. There are still some V wheels, but your bed is on bearings,
Yeah, the
linear
bed
bearings.
went to the smooth rod linear.
Yeah, yeah. So, which is kind of interesting. It's kind of like going all the way back to, they simplified it and made it, and then they also got rid of, you don't have leveling wheels anymore. You've got the spacers. So that's another thing that they've done. So they simplified things, but then they changed it up enough where there's a lot of proprietary injection molding on that printer now.
Right, and there's
So
also the danger of going a little too far. um like when it comes to like how I like the new Ender, don't get me wrong. Like it's a great printer. It does everything for you out of the box. It's just awesome. However, when you hide parts behind like nice printed aluminum parts and it needs like maintenance, it might be harder to like
mhm.
change a V wheel because you gotta take more stuff off.
Well,
Um, not
there's like a full plastic cover. Like you can't even like
yeah.
on our
There's
existing
nothing
ones.
to tighten
Yeah,
because
you
you
have
can't get there.
yeah, it's a lot more in depth in how you have to do maintenance. I don't even know that I saw, and I didn't look close enough. Maybe you worked more with it than me. Is there a way to tighten eccentric nuts? Is there even
I
an eccentric nut?
I didn't see anything that was immediately serviceable by the user.
Right.
Which
So
again, like the printer itself, when you compare it to like the very brief comparison, mind you, but you compare it to like the setup time and the actual initial config, it's one of the fastest printers out there. Like
mhm.
just to take out of the box and then you put the upright on and then you hit
so
calibrate and it's
so
done.
did you say when it calibrated, did it calibrate to the top like a Prusa?
So
Because it doesn't have, you know, um it's just the hard stops on the bed. So
mhm. So like the adjustment it does is just auto bed level and it calculates the Z offset for you. So you don't have to do anything. The new Ender has dual Z rods that are tied
tied
together
together.
with a
Yeah.
timing belt with one motor. So we didn't have to calibrate any of the I guess the the parallelness of the X gantry with it.
Mhm.
So I think they probably run it up at the factory and then like make sure it's all where it was and then throw the timing belt on. Um, but just from a standpoint of like setting the offset, it can be tricky and people have to like um be very careful like when they're without baby stepping too, right? Like
Yep.
getting the initial layer in there can be tricky. Um, let's see here. That it will print
Good morning,
terminator. Yes,
Pierre.
and after that it will print 800 parts for you. You're absolutely right. Um, Pierre's here. Good morning, Pierre. The Hal says it's a lot like a car. Um,
Goodness in my veins. I love it.
yeah, right. It's good. It's good. Um, and it's when you look at older cars and newer cars, it's the same thing. Like an older car, you could rip apart, no problem. But brand new cars is like everything's hidden behind panels that you have to pop grommets for.
Yeah.
And it's like, will the grommet go back in? Am I just gonna wreck this whole plate when I take it off? I don't know, right? So there's that trade off, right? Because lots of like I know in mine, if you pop grommets under a certain panel, they just break. They're designed to
Mhm.
just break, and then you
I
you
mean,
have to put new
to be
ones
fair,
on.
the grommets are pretty cheap.
They are right. It's
but
it's
but if you're in the middle of nowhere and you're trying to fix something and you don't have grommets, then it's like, well, put it back on.
right.
So yeah, very yep.
So um, we were looking around as we do, and we found something completely stupid and goofy. Um, which we'll show you because I hope you enjoy stupid and goofy things as much as I enjoy stupid and goofy things.
I don't know if
Uh,
we don't know if it's stupid and goofy yet.
no, like it. Okay, let's call it in its infancy. Hey, why is Greg's face not here? What's going on?
My face isn't there.
Yeah, I want to see your face.
I want to see my face too.
Guys, why can't we see Greg's face? Is he just underneath? Oh, there he is. I found him.
Did I go away?
Um, what video do you want to see, Pierre? Like we said before, we're not done making videos, but the topic has to be like something we haven't talked about before. Because turns out when you just remake the same video over and over and over, it's kind of like hard on you and hard on
Well,
the audience. What
there's
part
there's
part
not a lot new in Marlin lately.
I mean,
It's
what
very stable. So if there's
which is
something
great.
specific that you want us to go over with Marlin, we can definitely do
Yeah.
something. We are we did a bunch of videos about setting up and compiling Marlin just before Christmas, and then we're um, getting into the version of Clipper. So we talked about Clipper getting it on your Pi and whatnot. So we are about to go into a whole series on that piece. So
It's true. But yeah, like if you have a specific topic that you wanted to see, and this goes for anybody, we're happy to do it. It's we're just very selective with how we spend our video time. Um, Recently, just because of we're busy people sometimes, and we got to get there. Um, we'll answer that. We'll answer that. Um, Here, hold on. I'm gonna flip back to the main camera before we talk about this thing, because
sure.
why not? Uh,
We also we're gonna I'm gonna try to do a deep dive in the bamboo when we do get it. I will talk to my boss and make sure that that's cool with him, and if it is,
Absolutely
then
not. Um,
we'll do that as well.
so, what are your thoughts about using Marlin or Clipper? And I think, like we have kind of talked about in the past, and this could be a comparison video, like a good a launch point for a new video too. But um, I will follow up your question with another question to start with, just to start with, and this is an older question. What do you prefer more, Mac or PC? Um, and
That's controversial.
right, and so is this for some people. I think yeah, PC. See, he prefers PC. So do I. Like 90% of the people
Uh,
do too, right?
Linux or Windows, right? Like
Right.
that's another one, right?
And so when you talk about Clipper and Marlin, um, here's what I think. I think they both Windows. See, he likes Windows too, man. Um, I think they're both excellent for what they were designed for, and I think Clipper, in its infancy, and now it is actually getting more mature too, right? Like it's been out. I forget the exact launch date, but it's probably about 7 years almost.
Mm-hmm.
Marlin has a much longer um, lifespan right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Clipper started out for projects like Core XY, um, open build kind of stuff as a alternative to Marlin, which was at the time kind of limited in the amount of stepper drivers you could use, and IO on the board was a
And
little
now
different.
now it's like wide open.
And
They
the thing that happened was 32-bit boards.
that really made a
So
big difference
so
too.
like Clipper in its infancy, again going back, was designed so that it could take the workload off of the controller, put it on a Pi, and the Pi was your intermediary to the controller, which meant that you actually got uh, a processing upgrade without having like changing the board, which wasn't available at the time. Um, and I feel like it did solve that need, and it does solve a need still. Like if you want to use two boards, right? Clipper can accommodate that because it uses the Pi as a controller. Um, but do I like let's break it down to would I prefer Clipper on like oh, let's just use a Ender 3 or some sort of clone like the Ender 3. I think that both will serve you well. Um, and lots of people are moving to Clipper just because of the ease of configuration, right? You flash the board, config is done in a flat config file. And then you don't have to worry about programming like the config H and advanced and all those files, the boards.h, that kind of stuff. Um, so which one's better? I,
That's
I, I,
subjective.
I think they both work fine. I honestly do. Like for
Okay,
me,
so
uh,
so
I'm fine
so
with Marlin and Clipper.
and we're gonna go. We did a little video where we talked a little bit about the differences,
Hmm.
and that's something to be aware of. So with Clipper, every time you want to make a change and a tweak to your firmware, if it's not in Marlin, if it's not exposed in the GUI so that you can change your e steps and whatnot, you have to compile it every time.
Yep.
So if you are like, you want to tweak where your prime line is on your printer bed and whatnot, well, you have to recompile it. There's no tweak in the little interface with your knob and whatnot to tweak that, right?
I mean so yeah, but they did do better at giving you some
They
transparency in the
right.
EEPROM settings now.
you
So
you can turn on advanced settings and you can adjust your e steps for each all your motors. You can adjust a lot of your jerk settings and whatnot without recompiling. But if you go to Clipper, you can do them all, save it, try it, and then a second later make another tweak and try it. It works really quickly. So
yeah.
it's kind of six of one, half dozen of the other, right? It
Well,
it's one of those things.
it's like it's like programming languages too, right? If you have a compiled language, that's recompiling your whole project. If you have an just in time or ad hoc language like Java or similar, it can interpolate changes you make after the program launched as long as the file isn't in use, right? And I think that's where Clipper shines. I just looked it up too. Clipper was 2016, looks like, was one of their first release dates. Um, so right around that, right around like the home building, um, you know, like Core XY kind of trend, like your Voron kits and stuff like that.
Right.
That's kind of, it wasn't Voron there. What was it called back in the day? But and Marlin's from looks like 2011. But like as far as mature firmware goes, I'm a big fan of leaving whatever like firmware came on the printer for a while, and then I like, so for my printers I actually don't have any running Clipper at the moment. Um and that's more of um I don't know, not laziness, but I just, if it's not broken, don't fix it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um
Yep.
but we do have extra boards. Um Someone's a board hoarder,
I don't know
so
what you're talking about. So
we could build
so
a test bench for it and do video comparisons. I think
so
that could
so
make a
yeah. So what I would like to do is, right now I have an ender right here with a Sprite. And I'm thinking what I would like to do is, as we're doing this series, I'd like to take this ender, which has I think it's the version 4 of the SKR
1.4.
1.4, I think is
Mm,
what's in here.
yeah.
And I would like to clipperize it, shall we say.
We're going
So
to make it Clipper rated.
so and whatnot. So I do have my Hulk back here that is let me turn it so you can see the front in between all my junk. But yeah, so I would like to get that one all converted to clippers, just so, because then we can kind of do some comparison.
Yeah, benchmarking.
We
Yeah.
can do some benchmarking before and after, and look at how how easy it is or not to tweak it and
Yeah.
whatnot. So
And I think like
so
doing a video like that does give a fair answer to the question, which do you prefer? Because if it's not obvious right now, both. Um, I
yeah.
think they're both well. Uh, Guinness in me veins. It said Core XY is king. I hope Prusa releases their Core XY. They did. You can buy it on their website. It's about 2,000 US. However, it's not shipping, I guess, until it says
Uh,
the first half of the year. So
well,
I mean,
they did ship some of them, but yeah, it was only out to a limited.
yeah, like manufacturing is probably slow on them. And I do agree that Core XY is king for lots of things, but it depends again on your use case. Because bed slingers are pretty good too. Like they're getting better. Um, it's the argument of I have to move this really heavy bed back and forth, which we see printers like the new Ender 3 and the Anycubic one start to solve. The beds on those sides of the printers are actually pretty small, and I don't think because there's like a Creality K1 speed or something. I forget the actual name. But like it's an Ender 3 with a K in the model number, and that one's been clipperized.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like for speed wise and accuracy wise on the Ender 3s, like that one, or the normal, like the Ender 3 V2, Neo, whatever, blah blah blah, alphabet soup. Those ones, the bed is so light on them, moving it fast, like we've printed up to 200 millimeters a second on an Ender because it wasn't ours and we wanted to see if it explode.
So if you want, earlier we were trying to get to the point where we could show off some of the Clipper config files and whatnot. So, David, I did share my screen. I'm not sure if you're set up to show my
Yeah,
screen.
of course I
I,
am. Hold on.
uh,
There's a button for it.
okay.
Uh,
Just want to make sure that.
the button did not. The button, it does nothing. Hold on.
Well, then do the clicky clicky.
Okay, now it went to a black screen. Hold on. Hold on. We're clicking here. Show on stream. Boom. Done. Professional YouTubers.
Okay, so this is my mainsail setup. When you log into your printer to look at it, you can see what files you've printed. You can see all your temperatures nicely here, kind of like in Octoprint heatbed. I added a chamber temperature because so I actually added a second board so I can get a thermistor off of it and whatnot. So it's really nice in that respect. You can see this, and then I've got my little camera down here.
That's actually the perfect position. Many people won't know this, but if you watch right there, you'll have the best success of your.
Obviously, it's not mounted correctly, but so you get your console. There's G-code files that I've been printing.
Yep.
There's a G-code viewer, so you can actually see how it looks. There's your history, but then you can go to your machine config, and so this is what we're talking about, where you can maintain your printer and whatnot too. So right, you can see here, Clipper needs to be updated.
Mm-hmm.
So Moonraker, which is the API, needs to be updated, and Mainsail needs to be updated, but my OS is up to date. So
Hooray.
That's kind of cool. It shows you that kind of stuff. It shows you I've got my main board, which is the what is it in here? I think it's
STMF32F103. So that
so
be,
it's a Big Tree Tech SKR V2 or something like, I can't remember. It's the smaller one with with only 4 steppers. And then I added an older MKS Gen L
Yeah.
on here, just so I could get the thermistor off of it.
Man, I was
So
just reminiscing about that board last night.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I because it's still a good little board, but I don't need any steppers on it. I was just literally doing it so I could pull the thermistor,
Mm.
and then it also shows you your host with your Pi and everything on it. So kind of neat. Then we got our configs here. So like this is your main config. This is obviously for mainsail, but it has all the code, G code in here and whatnot for that. Let's get out of that. And then where's my printer config? So this is equivalent to before you compile Marlin, right?
Mhm.
When you're inside your VS code and you're tweaking things in here, that's what this is right here.
Yeah.
So we've got our two serial connections. One is for my main one, and one is for, so you can have multiple boards connected. So this is where you would, if you had something like a tool head that was connected to Clipper via your I'm blanking on the name of the protocol, CAN bus.
Oh yes, yeah.
Right. So you're using CAN bus to connect to another board, because those little tool heads are a 3D printing board, but they only do one thing, right? They do your stepper motor, single stepper motor, and your heater and your thermistor and everything. So they are 32-bit too now, but they're shrunk to be fit on your tool head to kind of lighten your load and whatnot, so that you don't have as many wires going to it. So that's where you could add it in here. And then here is telling it which pin on the board is running what, like the control of your steppers. And you could quickly change your micro stepping here. And all I'd do is I'd save it and restart, and it'd be ready to go. I don't have to compile it at all. So you can see all the different steppers here.
So like,
and trinamic drivers, it shows them up here too.
The restart is what's required to reparse this file.
Right.
And
so you could save,
and
then you could save it, but it wouldn't do anything until you do the restart.
Right.
And the restart is just basically rereading and reloading the clipper. So it just kind of reinitializes the clipper.
And so not last week, but we did flash an SD card, and this is basically where you would get to. And then there's the firmware flash to the board. Yeah. I'm going to pose this question to the Patreons that are in the Discord, just because they're in the Discord. Would you like the series run as a follow along kind of thing? So or would you like it kind of like the way we did Marlin? Now, spoiler alert, I think Marlin took about 6 weeks.
Yeah, Clipper could take at least another 6 weeks.
So like this is probably going to be for a bit, and then we're going to throw the Patreon live streams in there as well. But the nice thing with this config file, and you can see it just on the screen Greg's on, it's one file with header sections, right? So you don't have to worry too much about for example, in Marlin, you have to configure a board. To find the board you want to configure, if you don't know off the top of your head, you could go to the boards.conf, right? And then from there, you can configure the pins on the board if you wanted to do something strange with the pins on the board. But in Clipper, it's nice. It's right here. It's all under one header section.
Definitely, it can be a little overwhelming the first time you do this, because I had to figure out, okay, how do I get a printer config file that is close enough to getting started on the board I'm using and the printer I'm using, so that I I know what pieces I actually need,
I'm
because
glad you asked that question, Greg,
right. So
because
there's a lot of little pieces there.
I
So
have your answer right here. Switching screens.
all
This
right.
is my friend ChatGPT. So we're gonna say make Clipper firmware for an Ender 3. Beach.
Firmware or printer config file.
Let's say Clipper config file. Let's get file for an Ender 3 V2 with a SKR 1.4 controller. Boom. Shenanigans. First off, it says sure, and then it spits out an INI file for you. Interesting. It's almost done. Hold on. This configure assumes that you've correctly wired your stepper motor, so it's giving you like all of the warning answers. But you can see it did put together a config that looks like, in theory, it could work. In theory, I say in theory. And I showed this once before too, when we were doing Marlin. I don't know if you remember that, but we said, hey, make us a Marlin config for an Ender 3.
Right.
And I'm just kind of scrolling through. Like, it sets thermistors and everything. So at a base level, this might work. That it'd be interesting
Now
to copy
keep
all of that and put it back in and see if it
keep
actually
keep in
works.
mind, a lot of people have done a lot of work on Clipper, and there are, similar to Marlin, there are example configs for a
Mm-hmm.
standard unmodified, Ender 3 or an unmodified CR10 or
Yep.
and whatnot. So you can get a basic printer config that is close to where you need to be, and they assume that you haven't modified it.
Yep.
So if you're stock, then that's a good starting reference. And then if you know what changes you've made, you can then now start kind of incorporating those changes. Like,
Yeah.
I put a completely new board in here, so it's a different CPU and whatnot. So I had to go through a few different steps to get it to the
Mm-hmm.
point where I could make it work. So,
And
but
like all of that. So this is the Clipper documentation page Greg's talking about with the example configs, and you can find them. It tells you where to find them, so you can find them in the config directory. You can find them on the Discord server. There's lots of different ones. Now we already actually ran through on the installation. We've done everything up to this part, flashing the microcontroller. So like we got the new octo or we got the new pi imager, and we did all that, and then we got right up to the point where we were ready to actually flash the microcontroller. But like the Clipper website is one of the best sources for following along and building your firmware. Like it's
yeah,
very well done.
yeah, and you can go to Creality, you can go to a number of them, and they will have some base versions a lot of time available to
Mm-hmm.
you. So keep there's lots of resources out there, and so we'll choose which one we're going to go for first. And like I said, I can do this. I've got another board here I can throw David's way that he can start putting Clipper on as well,
Right. The
and we can go from there.
it,
We
it'll
should Clipperize a Dremel.
oh my goodness. We we have them. We could do it. No, I don't want to though.
No?
Um we're getting close to the top of the hour here. Apparently I had like and subscribe on the whole time. So yeah, like and subscribe. Greg, you want to do the thing?
I could do the thing.
Do the thing.
All right. Well, I want to thank all these people. Hilge, who is here in chat. Thank you for being Patreon, one of our longest term Patreons. So thank you. Thanks everyone else who's joining us in chat today. That's great. If you like what you're seeing and you want to support us doing things like this Clipper series and whatnot, you can join us on patreon.com/3D Make It. There's a variety of different levels that you can join us with. If you're at one of the paid levels, you can then join us in our Discord, where we have great conversations, share lots of information and whatnot. And you can also join us once a month for our live stream like we did last week. So thanks everyone for your support. And don't forget, you can also get a lot of info over at www.3dmakeit.ca.
Yeah, thanks for doing the thing so proficiently. You get one of the claps, maybe, if I can do it. No, it doesn't work. It's not set up. He almost got the clap out. But yeah, thanks for coming, guys. We sure love hanging out with you. Now I want to say our clipper will start next week and continue till it's done. So
Yeah.
we'll work towards that. So there'll be less bantry, more clippery.
Yeah. So I think we'll do a little bit of pre-planning on. I'll have to get. I want to get my my pie to the point where it's ready for clipper, and then we can kind of go from there.
Yep,
So
it'll be
I'm
great.
not touching my one that's working. We're gonna do it on a brand new one. It's been a while, so it's it'll be a refresher for me as well.
Yep.
So we
It'll be
can
great.
go. And again, this is a highly modified ender. I suppose we could do a stock ender too. Maybe
Leave a like for the algorithm gods. Yes, we would appreciate that.
Yeah,
But,
that would be great.
Yeah, we've come
And
to the
thanks
end,
for joining
friends.
us, Guinness in my veins. It was nice having you in the chat today and joining us. So
Well,
it's
I
always
do
great
every
to
once in
see
a while.
new people joining us in the stream.
What if it's an old
So
people that just has a new name?
maybe
Whoa.
are you trying to mess with us by renaming yourself?
Yes, I did. That's really me in the side. No, it's not. Anyway, thanks a lot for coming, guys. We'll catch up with you next week. Until next time, have a good one.
Bye.